In this tutorial, we'll take a look at the Sales Account module. Now in JobPro, a customer can exist both at the company or organization level, or alternatively just at a contact level. So if you sell to individuals, you can treat contacts as customers, or alternatively you can also treat companies and organizations as customers. So the fact that you can do this in both modules means that to save you having to go into each module separately to view any customers that owe you money, for example, you can go into the Sales Accounts module and get all that information from there in one place. So as soon as you invoice out a customer, the system automatically creates a sales account record in the Sales Account module. You can also manually create a sales account in advance as well when you're setting up a customer, but normally there's no need to, unless you want to enter in advance their payment terms and other defaults like that. So let's have a look at that from the company point of view first of all. So in here, if we were setting up a new customer, and then on the account tab, we can see any sales invoices, which obviously for this company there aren't any yet. And we can see that we can create an account here. Or manually we can just type into these fields and that automatically creates the account in the Sales Account module up here. So for example, we click on Create Account. We're actually brought into the Sales Account screen. But if you want to edit some of those defaults from the company screen, you can do so by putting in their credit limit, payment terms, default tax code, for example, default nominal code, and also their tax number if that's something that you might need to include on your sales invoices. So that we can also view the sales account from here as well. So what we're looking at here is a record in the Sales Account module. It shows similar functionality or similar information like you'd see in the company or contact screen, like their contact details, the account contact specifically for that customer, but also then down the bottom the difference is that you can see invoices, receipts, including receipt allocations, and other areas that you might need to track relating to following up on sales accounts. Like for example, just creating notes or making logs of phone calls or sending out email reminders, SMS reminders and so on. You can also create tasks from the Sales Account module to maybe remind yourself to follow up on certain accounts. So let's go back to this company record. If we hadn't created the account here, as soon as you create your first invoice for a customer, it'll auto create the account anyway. So let's take a look at a customer that has invoices already in the system. The quickest way to do that might be to go home and then click on the Quick View tab for sales invoices, and that'll show us any sales invoices that are outstanding. So here we can see a number of invoices for this customer. So let's click on one of those. So the quickest way actually to go to this customer's account, to go to the company screen and view the account from there. It'll save us going into the Sales Account module and doing a search at that level. So now we're looking at the sales account record for this company, and we can see there's lots of invoices and no receipts yet. And what we can do then, if we receive a receipt from that customer, we can create that from here. Now there's more information regarding receipts covered in the tutorial specific to receipts module, but just very quickly in here we can put in a receipt. So let's say the receipt is exactly covering one of the invoices. Well, what you could do then is put in, let's say, $297, and then you could fully allocate against that invoice there. And now that receipt basically is complete. Or alternatively, if the amount that we received covered multiple invoices, let's just make that 5,000 for example, then we can start part allocating against multiple invoices in the system, so that we're left with a smaller amount that we can then allocate against one invoice. So we'll have fully allocated that full receipt. So let's just do a few here. Fully allocate. We do this big one here just to save us having to do a lot of allocations. So now we're left with an unallocated amount of 885. So let's allocate an amount against this one fully. And we're left with 136. So what we'll do is we'll allocate that amount against this invoice here. So instead of creating a fully allocation, we'll do a part allocation. And we can put 136 into that allocation here. And now we've fully allocated against the total receipt amount. And a number of those invoices have been marked fully paid. So let's go back to the account screen. From the receipt we can click on the word account, which will bring us into the sales account record for this customer, or we can click on the customer link, which will bring us to the company file in this place. So we click on account and we're back into sales accounts. So we can see then the single receipt but the multiple allocations against that receipt. We can click on arrows to go to the different invoices, and in this case all of these allocations are part of the one receipt. So on the sales account screen we can change who the account contact is for a customer. So if this customer had multiple contacts, we could click on the link here and change the account contact to this person. So also we can change the default address as well if relevant. But up the top then we can see total invoices or credit notes, reducing that, total receipts, and that they have an account balance of that amount. We could input their credit limit as well, which would show a warning if we're over the credit limit. We can see here there's a difference and we have a warning on the screen. You can also search for any accounts that have or gone over their credit limit. Then we can set up the payment terms for an account. And we can also do a search for any account that's gone over their payment terms. And we can set the tax default code and the tax or the nominal code as well. And these can be used for if you're posting to other accounts packages, for example. But also the default tax code gets used if you create an invoice or a quote or a sales order relating to an account or to a customer, then the tax code defaults onto that transaction, and anytime you add a line item to that transaction, it uses the default tax code for that transaction as well. So more information up here includes where they usually pay by different methods, and you can also put in then credit card details on this screen here. So on the lower part of the screen we have the invoices tab, where we can print a statement for this account, or we can create an invoice from here, view invoices, look at a summary of the age debt analysis down the bottom, and look at totals relating to all the invoices, including receipts and balances remaining. We can also specify a default here that a PO number is required when printing out or emailing invoices for this customer. So in other words, any invoice that's created for this account needs a PO number, and if you try and print or email an invoice that doesn't have one, you'll get a warning or a reminder at that time. So we can also print a statement from here. And you can print a statement in multiple languages as well if you need to. So on the Receipts tab on the left hand side, it'll show any receipts for this account and any receipt allocations for this account. So the difference being that allocations do not necessarily add up to receipts. So for example, a customer that overpays and you allocate against invoices that are in the system, well then they may still have an amount in credit on their account, which you can then further allocate to future invoices or maybe send a credit note for. The Comms tab shows any communications relating to this account, like follow-ups, sending out emails or SMS messages, for example. And then the Tasks tab you can use if you want to create reminders for yourself to follow up this account, maybe in relation to invoices that are overdue, etc. And on the Other tab in Sales Accounts, this is where you can print off an account application. So for example, you can put in various information relating to this account. Once you've printed off and they send back a filled out application for an account. So let's take a quick look at that. So this is like a credit account application where you'll have filled in some of the details and then the account or the customer needs to fill in the rest of the details and send it back to you. And then you can fill in the details in the database here. And you can also specify if an account has been approved. And you can control what users can actually approve an account. So in other words, they're allowed of credit. And you can get warnings in the system if a company has not been approved for credit but they actually owe money as well. So the list screen in Sales Accounts is useful if you want to see all accounts that owe money. So for example, in this sample data, we can see that there's a total amount owing of 36,573. And you can see then in the age analysis where those invoices are hitting. And on the Options tab in Sales Accounts, you can do find on customers with balances on their account, find customers with credit on their account, customers over their credit limit, and customers with overdue invoices. So this makes it easier to pull up relevant accounts that you may need to follow up on. But you can also manually do searches using these criteria as well. There's also various report options. And for the current record or the current account, you can also do things like create a sales invoice, create a receipt, task, email, letter, fax, any of the items that you can do on the other tabs on the entry screen. You can also print a statement, print labels, and print a credit account application as well. So lots of different options on the accounts, Sales Accounts option screen. If your customers are either just company or organization based or individuals, well then there is a chance that you don't necessarily need to use the Sales Accounts module much or at all. Because simply what you can do is, let's say you just deal with companies, you can track all this information from within the Accounts tab on the customer screen. So if a company pays an invoice, you can go into that invoice and mark it paid from there, or you could go directly into the Receipts module and allocate against multiple invoices from there to do with a customer. It's really only where you have a mixture of customers at both levels of these modules where you'll get very good use out of the Sales Accounts module. So I think that covers everything relating to Sales Accounts in the system.